everybody, I'm here to do a book review today of The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. Sorry if the lighting is a little bit bad. I've got the window open, got lights on in the room. It's just a dark and rainy day out after we had such beautiful weather here in Michigan last week. It was getting like up to 80 degrees and now it's cold again. I will never understand Michigan weather despite living here my whole life. But anywho, this review of The Iron King. Let me just give you a quick synopsis first. It is about a 16-year-old girl named Megan Chase who lives with her mom, stepdad, and her younger 4-year-old half-brother Ethan. When she was 6 years old, her dad disappeared randomly one day, and just his shoes were found by the lake or the pond or some body of water in the park. I don't exactly remember. And eventually her mom remarried, and obviously they had another kid. They're pretty poor. They live on a pig farm and don't have a lot of technology or anything like that. And she's never really fit in at school. She only has one really good friend, Robbie, who's kind of like a class clown type of guy. And other than that, she's kind of left out from the popular group because she's poor and lives on a farm and everything. So one day, something happens to her little brother, Ethan, and, well, it's spoiled on the back blurb of the book, so I guess it's really not a spoiler if I say it. It turns out that Megan is really half fairy. Her real dad is King Oberon, the king of the summer court of the fairies, and her best friend, Robbie Goodfellow is his name, is really Robin Goodfellow, aka Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream. And her brother was kidnapped by the fairies and replaced with this like bratty, terrible fairy changeling, so she vows that she's going to go into the fairy world, or the Never Never as it's called, to get him back. And on the way there, a bunch of crazy stuff happens, and she also meets this new mysterious guy, and there's some romance happening. Shouldn't be any surprise with that. What did I think about this book? I wanted to love it. In the end, I thought it was enjoyable, but not brilliant for quite a few different reasons. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I would overall give it 3.5 out of 5 rating. Before I even talk about the book, let me just talk about the cover. I really like the design and everything, but for some reason the combination of the picture, the photograph of the girl, Megan, and the design, it looks almost like it was done by an amateur in Photoshop to me, and I'm no expert on these things, but it just looks off. Maybe if it had been an illustration, or if she had been facing a different way, I don't know if you can even tell by this picture. If it's just me, it might just be one of my weird quirks. Also, the chapter pages and all of like the main section pages have this cool design on it, which I thought was pretty one of my weird girly things that I actually like. Anywho, into the actual book, what did I think? It was enjoyable, but it had some flaws. The main thing when reading it, and when I first found out the main synopsis of the book, that it was about a girl going to rescue her brother from like the fairyland, I immediately thought of the movie Labyrinth with David Bowie, which I saw when I was a little kid, and I'm like, maybe that's just my imagination. Then I read and saw quite a few reviews here on YouTube and on Goodreads and stuff. A lot of people were saying how much it was like Labyrinth, and I'm like, oh crap, the rest of the book is going to be like that too. I was hoping I was wrong. So I'm thinking maybe it's just them, and when I read it'll be different. No, it takes quite a bit from Labyrinth, and also it's got a lot of Alice in Wonderland stuff going on. She befriends, it's, the girl going into a different place and doing all this weird stuff, and she, I wanted to say befriends, but she meets and has this guide of a magical cat, Grimalkin, or Grimm as he's called, which just reminded me a lot of the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. And it's got some kind of elements of Chronicles of Narnia, I thought, by she went in through the closet to get to the Never Never. Kind of reminded me of the wardrobe in, you know, the Chronicles of Narnia, but that one was kind of stretching it a bit too thin. So, but Labyrinth was really the main thing, and you know, the girl going to save her younger brother, just like whatever Jennifer Connelly's character was called in Labyrinth, had to go save her brother Toby, I think his name was, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then in the end, too, when she meets the titular Iron King, I'm like, that is David Bowie from Labyrinth. What happened, I'm not going to spoil it, but it reminded me so much of that. So that, you know, I'm sure it had to be an intentional homage. There's no way, unless she's never seen the movie, or she just saw it when she was younger, Julie Kagawa, the author I'm talking about. There's just no way that she could not have known. But anywho, there was quite a lot of stuff going on in this book. There's a lot of action scenes, which I really appreciate because I tend to like books that are packed with a lot of action. I mean, they're not the only books I like, but that is one thing that always helps keep me hooked to a book. But so it wasn't boring, but my main problem with it was the relationships. Mainly, even though it's not really clear or fully shown in this book, it's obvious there's going to be a love triangle between the two guys. Puck and Ash are the two characters. Puck is her best friend, and then Ash is a new, tall, dark, and handsome, mysterious, dark, and kind of cold new character who is the prince, or one of the princes of the Winter Court, the opposite court that Megan is from. And I'm just like, really? This is so obvious. This is that same token love triangle again. It's the Twilight and Mortal Instruments love triangle, like carbon copy with the best friend character and the new, mysterious, beautiful, and just kind of jerky new guy. Carbon copy. But my main problem was not just the fact that it followed that stereotype so exactly, but the way it was developed. Puck, who I thought was a really funny character and really cool, I loved him in the scenes that he was in, you didn't really get to see much of his relationship with Megan at all, whether it was back before when he was, you know, calling himself Robbie disguised as Immortal when they were best friends, or even later as his true self. A lot of it was Megan, and therefore really the author, just telling about the relationship rather than showing it. And also with Ash, I thought it was just way too rushed and forced. I thought maybe the romance would have been better to be left off until maybe the second book. I apologize if you heard the phone ringing. I am at my grandmother's house, and her phone rings like every 5 minutes. She's just that popular, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, back to the romance. I thought maybe it should have been allowed to develop more naturally and gradually, and then not culminate so soon. It just felt forced and rushed, and that was another big thing that made me detract some points from this book. So all in all, I am still interested to read the rest of the series, but my expectations, well, I don't know if they were that high, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. Could have been better, but I did enjoy it. 3.5 out of 5 for The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. I will see you guys later.